Hello and welcome to Breaking Embargo. I'm Peter Barnes. That's Kevin O'Sullivan. Let's get into it. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us here at Breaking Embargo. It's a great pleasure to have you. You've been in journalism for a long time. You're an institution yourself. Can you think of a worse government than we've got right now? U-turn, disarray, disaster. Is this the worst it's ever been?
Well, you and I talk about this on the radio, on the TV, talk about it on air all the time with our other presenters. I write about it. Here we are coming up to a year of Labour. Now, people like you, me, my fellow presenters, we're inclined to be against Labour. I don't think we're far right or anything like that. We're right of centre, centrist right-wing people, if you like. So, in our DNA, we would always look for ways to have a go at a Labour governor, and we will pick on any mistakes that they made, because that's kind of what we want. But what we've entered is completely different territory. It's not opponents of socialism having a go at a Labour government. We are stunned, shocked, astonished by just how bad, just how incompetent this government is. It goes beyond politics. Our complaints about this government, and I'm not just talking about people like you and me, I'm talking about the British public. Our collective complaint about this government, it's not political. It's not, oh, you left-wing union leaves, you lunatic lefty socialist idiots. It's not that. It's, can't you do anything right? Like the politics of Labour, I don't like the politics of socialism. I expect when they're in government, this to come with it: basic competency, basic efficiency. And this lot are just staggeringly hopeless, staggeringly useless. They are the architects of their own demise. And to see Keir Starmer in the straits he's in after 1 year, it's unprecedented for a prime minister.
Yeah, you're right. Do you know, one of my old university friends is more left-wing than Corbyn. And he's more annoyed at this Labour government because he said, you can't even be a socialist correctly. And I think you're right. It is competency. I always say that any government that can be cohesive, add clarity, and be competent, you'd walk into power, because we are so amazed by it, because we've been led by the incompetent of the incompetent, that anybody with a brain looks like a good prospect now. And I think this government is a result of so many bad ideas that this was inevitable, that we would end up with a government that was just a disaster, because a lot of what they've got to deal with, to give them a little bit of credit, is the consequence of long-term problems kicked down the road. We've not dealt with things properly, or it's been, to use his phrase, sticking plaster politics. Their solutions aren't solutions in any way, shape or form. But my thing with U-turns is, and we're obviously this giant one with the welfare bill, he's doing it because his party is forcing him into it. This is an authority problem for him, not a conscience problem. He's done it because he's been forced to.
Authority is absolutely shot to hell. I was calculating this morning, it was June the 9th when he staged his astonishing U-turn on the winter fuel allowance. What they've done is completely reinstated what it was before. So all pensioners will now get the winter fuel allowance. It's gone back to exactly what it was before they axed it. So total U-turn. Then the U-turn, of course, on the rape gang inquiry. A dramatic U-turn, total U-turn. We don't need a national inquiry. Yes, we do. And now, of course, the welfare bill, complete U-turn, as you say, caused not because of an attack of conscience or anything like that, but because more than 120 MPs, his mainly left-wing backbench MPs, we think near enough 130, basically told him, we're not going to let you get away with this. We are not going to let you cut £5 billion worth of welfare spending. And unless you completely change this, we will vote you down. We utterly buckled. So now we've gone from 5 billion savings, which was Liz Kendall, the Work and Pensions Secretary's proposal, which was already watered down. We needed 4 times that, but she, in order to placate the left, brought it down to a very feeble 5 billion. Not nearly enough. Now they've taken 3 billion off that. So the savings we're going to make, if we're lucky, will be £2 billion. £5. And the only reason he's done that is because his backbench left-wing MPs told him to. So now he has no authority. What those backbenchers know now is we've got this guy. He's in our pocket. Anything we need him to do, we can make him do. A really significant moment when he buckled, and now we won't get the cuts we need. And there's only one thing coming down the track after that to save this nation from total bankruptcy. It is more tax hikes. But also, I was calculating since June the 9th, that was the winter fuel U-turn. So 3 weeks, he staged a dramatic 3 U-turns. But no, there's a fourth. He's just an extraordinary U-turn on his Island of Strangers speech.
Only decent thing he's done. I thought I've ever seen a Labour politician actually get up and say, do you know what? We've got a problem with this. And he's just buckled. And I can't believe it. I get it. Found, honestly.
You know why he's done
Yeah.
it? Because these same left-wing MPs who've made him buckle on the Welshman have told him, we hated that speech. You quoted Enoch Powell, and we hate you for that. Attack you at every... Oh, no, well, okay, I'll say sorry. And his apology. The other problem with Starmer is just an inveterate liar. He's saying lies and it lies. It's an interview, The Observer, with Tom Baldwin, a former sort of Labour Times journalist at one point. He said, well, yeah, I deeply regret my Island of Strangers speech. And I had no idea that I was essentially quoting Enoch Powell in his fake
Lie.
The guy, what is Starmer? 66 years old or something? He was a grown man when Enoch Powell made speech. He's been in politics, for 10 years. He's been around politics for his entire life. Of course he knew it was Enoch Powell.
Yeah.
And so did the people who wrote the speech. But what is it actually?
That's the thing.
No, we didn't know. Well, if you really didn't know, Keir Starmer, if you really didn't know that was an essential quote from Enoch Powell, then you have no right to be Prime Minister of this country. That's basic political, historical knowledge.
As a person who has helped write political speeches, we know what we're writing. We know what goes in it. And either he's being lied to by his staff, which is a big problem, or yet again, he's lying to the country.
What a problem that is, that we have a government that has backed itself into such a catastrophic corner through its own incompetence that their only way out of the disasters that are befalling this country because of their policies is to look us in the face and lie and say, no, that's not the case. No, we didn't do this. No, that isn't going to happen. We didn't pass that law. They just lie. And never before. Andrew Neil, the other week, wrote a piece in the Daily Mail, a veteran, reputable political observer. He said, I've been covering British politics for 55 years. He said, I have never before known a government where journalists can, without fear of contradiction, just say they're liars. He said, I've never seen it before. This government are flat out liars. They are gaslighters. That's how they get out of the problems that they cause us.
And if a journalist of his stature and experience is saying that's a very powerful word for a journalist to use, isn't it? So for him to say that is a moment. Starmer's big problem politically is he's no allies because he's used his cabinet as shields. If you notice, it's always Rachel Reeves' economy. It was Jess Phillips that was sent out to give the speech on the grooming gangs. Wes Streeting has been front and centre at the demolition of the NHS England. It's never him. He has used all of his cabinet as a shield, and now he's relying on people to keep in power. And that is now his big downfall.
Well, I don't think Rachel Reeves will be around for much longer either. Ask anyone in the Labour machine, and they will tell you that the incredibly, against stiff opposition, Chancellor Reeves is the most toxic on the doorstep. People go, not her, they hate her. Everybody hates her. So he doesn't have any allies. That's because he's one of those politicians who essentially says, I have opinions, and if you don't like them, I have others. He's all things to all men. And the problem with that is so many people think he's told them something, made a pledge to, and then they discover he's gone back on it, that he just loses friends left, right, and centre. In this interview, by the way, that turncoat civil servant Sue Gray as his chief of Downing Street staff, he said that was a mistake. She wasn't right for the job. He then later on in the same interview goes on to say, you must judge me on my judgment. Well, there's your judgment right there, Keir. And we do judge on your judgment because your judgment has been found to be disastrous time and time again. The people of this country now perceive this guy has no moral courage. He has no backbone. His behavior with Donald Trump and the American bombing raid with Israel on Iran's nuclear facilities, when he refused to say whether or not he supported Donald Trump and left the nation saying, and then, which side is Britain on? His failure to have the courage to just say, we support Donald Trump, or even don't support Donald Trump. It was unforgivable, an abrogation of governmental duty.
He's been very quiet as well on some of the big moral votes that have gone through Parliament as well. The assisted dying bill in our kind of, in favor of it in principle, the abortion, these big issues that people do actually care about. They're conscious votes, so they're not party whipped, but people would like to know what the guy running the country thinks about this stuff, and not leading. It is just chaos for the nation because there is nobody putting Britain on the map. And the big thing with the Trump situation is, if Starmer's not in the room, Britain's not in the room. That's the problem. There's no place for the world to be either.
I mean, we are still one of the great intelligence nations. Unfortunately, our skills in that area are no longer required by America or Israel because of Starmer's and David Lammy's, and in fact, most of the cabinet's obvious anti-Israel sentiments. Netanyahu will never let us in on his secrets again, and nor will Donald Trump. So the fact that when America joined Israel in those astonishing attacks on those epoch-making attacks, when that happened, Britain knew nothing about it. Starmer knew nothing about it. That was a key moment in the history of British foreign affairs. He loved to strut the world stage, but it's now pointless because nobody cuts him in on the action. By the way, do you know he's got the lowest voting record of any prime minister in the Commons, beaten by Cameron, by Theresa May? Boris Johnson had quite a high voting record, but he has had a minimal voting record in the House of Commons because he's always away. Now, he's strutting the world stage while alienating America and Israel.
I go back to the old quote where, if you have to tell people you're important, you're not important. If you have to tell people you are something, then you aren't that thing. I think the problem we're going to have is, I think we're stuck with him. He might be out of authority, but who's replacing him? Angela Rayner is going to sit opposite world leaders. No offense to the woman. You're not qualified to even be deputy prime minister, let alone the leader of the nation. And I think that's what's going to keep him in power.
The machinery of the Labour Party makes it much more difficult to replace the leader. But in terms of the potential replacement, Angela Rayner, this is very awkward to say because I don't want to stand here saying, working class women who didn't go to university shouldn't be in politics. So I'm certainly not saying this. Northern working class women have no place in the country. I'm not saying this. She is a northern working class woman who's done very, very well. But let's be straight about her. She is absolutely stupid. She is as thick as hell. Mind you, a lot of the August Bridge graduates in the cabinet are as thick as hell as well. So that's the problem there. I mean, Starmer's no genius, but Angela Rayner is terrifying. Rebels who forced him into the welfare bill U-turn. Not all of them are lunatic lefties. Many of them are people who realize that the incompetence of their leader will put them out of a job at the next election. They're fighting to keep their seats, and they realize Starmer will lose them their seats. So for some of them, or a few of them, it's just pragmatism. They want to keep their jobs. Starmer's going to lose it for them. But for many of them, these are the Corbynistas. These are the lunatic left. And they are now running the show. They're pulling the Prime Minister's puppet strings like a marionette. And those are the people who want Corbyn back. Corbyn, who, of course, took the Labour Party to, I think it's their worst electoral defeat. The thing about him is I almost pine for the old boy. I mean, I despise Jeremy Corbyn and everything about him. Partly because the man has never changed in 60 years. The same opinions he had 60 years ago. How can you be that mentally, intellectually rigid? That's not the point. I despise everything about him. However, unlike Starmer, you kind of know where he stands.
I've said the exact same thing. Say what you like about Jeremy Corbyn. I think his opinions are abhorrent. but you know where he stands.
His only great lie, his only great deception was, of course, on Brexit, where he was with you and me. He likes the idea of Brexit. So did John McDonnell. It's one of those weird areas where right-wingers merge with left-wingers.
Theresa May, a Remainer, leading the Conservatives, and Jeremy Corbyn, a Brexiteer, leading the Labour Party.
Yeah, Corbyn lied. He was forced into it because of Labour's official stand that we want to remain. So he had to sort of pretend. But apart from that, he was pretty honourable about what he believed in. So you feel nostalgic for that when you think about Keir Starmer today, who is not honourable about anything, and God knows what the hell it is that he does believe in.
That's so true. Kevin, this has been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a real pleasure. Thanks, Kev.